trying to unclog it, and I said, blow some air through the line to clear it up. And then suddenly, boom, I got a face full of gas, and then the pilot light jumped, and my face caught on fire. A heartbreaking health update, and the big name in American TV, Jay Leno, is dealing with the saddest part of his life yet. The guy who had millions cracking up every night on his show, who made it through a gas explosion that lit up his face and a nasty wipeout on a motorcycle that wrecked his whole body, is now hit hard by a quiet hurt that's worse than any scrape or burn. Word from a Los Angeles court says Jay Leno is now the official caretaker for his wife, Mavis Leno, after she got hit with a bad case of dementia. This tough illness is making the woman who's stuck by his side for more than 40 years start to forget the guy she fell for way back when. As the bright lights of showbiz dim down, Jay's got to face the empty feeling of his later years alone. It's a spot where all the stardom in the world can't bring back lost thoughts, and the chuckles from way back are just faint whispers now. So, what's really going down? The real scoop on Jay Leno's tough times and the choice that left everyone stunned is coming up next. Back on November 12th, 2022, the whole entertainment crowd got a huge jolt from the news that Jay Leno, the king of American laughs and the all-time great host of The Tonight Show, had gotten into a bad wreck. The mess didn't go down on some movie set or in front of a crowd, but right in his own safe spot, that massive garage full of his dream cars in Burbank, California. To be exact, while he was doing some easy fixes on his white 1907 white steam car, a super rare gem in his stash of over 180 cars and 160 motorcycles, one quick slip-up turned his favorite hobby into a total horror show. From Jay's own blow-by-blow story, he was working to fix a stuck fuel line. That white steam car runs on steam power, but it needs a bit of gas at first to warm up the boiler. As Jay bent over close, he puffed some compressed air into the line, thinking it'd push out the clog, but the push sent a big splash of liquid gas right into his face. In a flash, the little flame from the pilot light that starts the boiler whooshed up, setting his face and upper body blazing like a torch. Jay laid out the scary second. I was trying to unclog the line and I said, blow some air through the line. Let's see if we can clear it. And then suddenly, boom, I got a face full of gas. And then the pilot light jumped and my face caught on fire. The flames swallowed his body, leaving bad burns on his face, chest, and both hands, hitting about 7% of his skin. Sure, 7% sounds tiny, but those burns were all crammed onto his head, face, and hands, spots that are super sensitive and out in the open, so the damage was no joke. Luckily, his old buddy and go-to mechanic, Dave Kalaki, was right there. Dave jumped in like a champ to put out the fire all over Jay and yanked him away from the smoking car. Dave remembered. It was a real fright. Smoke jammed up the garage in seconds. Gasoline splashed everywhere on the floor, and that fast save kept Jay from way worse hurts. Without Kalaki's speedy move, things could have turned deadly or left him scarred for good. Jay got rushed straight to the Grossman Burn Center at West Hills Hospital in Los Angeles, one of the top spots in the country for burn care. Dr. Peter Grossman, the boss there and Jay's main doc, told everyone at a news meetup that Jay Leno had second and third-degree burns. Third-degree burns are the worst kind, going deep through every layer of skin and maybe messing up the stuff underneath. The whole fix-up took 10 days, from November 12th to November 21st, 2022, and it was a real puzzle to sort out. Too quick. Skin graft ops. Docs used fake skin stuff to cover the spots, stop bugs from getting in, and kickstart fresh skin to grow back. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy, or HBO. Jay did a bunch of rounds in a special oxygen room. That treatment lets the body soak up extra oxygen, which pumps up blood flow to the hurt parts, speeds up fixing, cuts down swelling, and keeps scars from getting too rough. That was a big reason he got his face almost all the way back to normal. When Jay headed home, the Grossman Burn Center put out a note saying his health was steady and he'd keep up with outpatient visits and check-ins. The wildest part wasn't how bad the burns were, but how Jay Leno handled it. Even with his face skin still pink and his arms wrapped up tight, he reached out to the news folks first, gave a shout-out to the docs, and said he was okay. He skipped all the tips to chill out and didn't push back any of his gigs. Just 9 days after getting out, Jay Leno hit the boards again at the Comedy and Magic Club in Hermosa Beach, a spot tied to his job for over 30 years. That was something you almost never see in showbiz. When he walked out, the reporters spotted his hands still wrapped, his face with a few marks, but his voice good as new. He kicked off the act by spinning the wreck into a punchline. Thinking back to that garage moment, Jay grinned easy and said, "My face was on fire." He went for over an hour, never dodging talk of the crash, but folding it right into his routine. The crowd there jumped up, clapping at the end. Doc said he took to the fixes great and had zero bug worries. That cool head and funny take right after the mess changed how folks saw Jay Leno, shifting him from just a big late-night guy to a real champ of bouncing back and killer drive to keep going. But not even 2 weeks after that gas blast, while the burn memories were still fresh, Jay had to tackle another hit. This one wasn't flames, but a hard smash of metal, bones, and guts. The back-to-back crashes had the news folks wondering how he kept jumping back up to perform after every tumble. On January 17, 2023, while taking a spin on a 1940 Indian motorcycle, another old-school ride from his bunch in Las Vegas, Jay wiped out. An unmarked wire stretched across the lot tossed him right off the bike. The slam was brutal, giving Jay a snapped collarbone, 2 busted ribs, and 2 cracked kneecaps. In a quick chat with the Review Journal, he summed it up. "I got knocked off my motorcycle. I've got a broken collarbone, 2 broken ribs, and 2 cracked kneecaps." The crash hit just 2 months after the garage fire, freaking out fans big time since his body's been taking hit after hit. Jay got carted to a nearby hospital, patched up for a couple days, and then hopped back on stage. Even though docs told him to take at least 2 weeks off, he said no way. His lineup of shows stayed the same. At later gigs, Jay rocked an arm sling and took it slow. He even cracked wise on stage about scoring a deal on ambulance trips. The U.S. press covered it wall to wall, dubbing it his second crash in under 1 winter. Lots of folks said Jay had a one-of-a-kind hustle that sets him apart from other stars his age, like some throwback sense of showing up no matter what. But the bad luck kept coming. 10 months later, on the night of November 16, 2024, Jay took another spill while in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, getting set for a gig. He tripped and slid down a hill almost 20 meters long behind the Hampton Inn Hotel, smacking his head on a rock, snapping his wrist, scraping his face, and ripping off a fingernail. In a talk with Inside Edition, Jay grinned as he told it. "I slid down the hill and hit my head on a rock." He said the tumble caught him off guard while he was cutting through to the parking lot. And he ought to stand up so he wouldn't miss his showtime. When hotel workers offered to call the ambulance, he just said, "Wrap his wrist." That night's set went on as planned. When he hit the stage, his face was all beat up and puffy, and his right eye was barely open. Jay started with a zinger. "My right eye is on vacation." The crowd lost it laughing, then stood cheering after his full hour. Pics from Pittsburgh blew up online fast. The news called it straight proof of the old pro host's crazy staying power. A guy who made it through 3 big crashes in under 2 years without ditching a single date. Through all those crashes in a row, Jay Leno stayed tough, showing it not just by healing up his body, but by sticking to his grind. Even after leaving The Tonight Show, where he ran things from 1992 to 2009 and from 2010 to 2014, he kept a jammed calendar of stand-up spots. His bookings often topped 150 a year, zipping around states, mostly at cozy little spots. Pals in the biz spilled that Jay still drove himself to gigs or hauled his old rides in his own truck to events, skipped hiring helpers, and just packed a couple outfits and his trusty mic. That no-frills way of life clashed big with his flashy job history. Experts say Jay's quick jump back to work wasn't only about toughness, but a way to deal. For him, laughs are everything. Hitting the stage was the quickest fix to grab the reins again, shoving aside body aches and heart stuff with crowd giggles and chats. Sticking to the daily grind beat any pill for pain. That's what turned Jay Leno into the unbreakable dude of comedy. After that scary run of body wrecks and his gutsy comebacks to perform, Jay Leno's days hit a whole new kind of fight, one that jokes or steel nerves couldn't fix. The last big test wasn't blaze or crash, but how breakable our brains can be. This family heartbreak pushed Jay to share a slice of his hidden home life that he'd kept locked tight for over 40 years. On January 26, 2024, Jay Leno sent papers to the Los Angeles Superior Court to step up as the official guardian for his wife, Mavis Leno. That court move rocked the news scene, spilling the hard fact the pair had been handling on the down low. The papers filed with the court nailed down a rough health call. Mavis Leno had advanced dementia. The sickness was chipping away at her thinking skills, especially handling tricky money stuff, and she needed real help with everyday tasks. Even though Jay Leno's one of the richest in showbiz, this ask wasn't mostly about cash, but all about shielding Mavis from court troubles and making sure health choices got handled fast and right. The filing spelled it out clear. Jay Leno was named as the sole conservator, a sign of the total faith and super strong bond in their marriage. 2 months after sending the papers, a full health write-up from Dr. Heartbroken, dated April 2, 2024, got handed to the court and laid out Mavis's slide in detail. That note was one of the rare public peeks at how bad the sickness had hit Mavis's head. Dr. Cohen backed up that Mavis was wrestling hard symptoms like forgetting stuff right after it happens, getting lost in spaces, and big drops in brain power overall. The toughest bit in the note was that Mavis sometimes didn't know who her husband Jay was anymore, or even her own birthday. For someone who's shared 44 years of ups and downs, turning into a stranger to your forever person is a deep gut punch, heavier than any third-degree scorch. But the note also pointed out Mavis had flashes of clear-headedness and didn't fight the ask. That okay from her was huge. She believed in Jay, even if his name slipped her mind. The Los Angeles court moved quick on the plea, seeing how pressing it was, and set a meet for April. On April 9, 2024, they dropped the word. Jay Leno's ask got the green lease, handing him full say on her health, court stuff, and money matters. That plain old-school family setup shaped Jay's down-to-earth, easy-to-get funny style later on. From kid days, Jay had a born knack for comedy, using it to handle and chat through the dyslexia that nobody caught till he was grown. Jay told how school was a grind, but getting laughs lit him up with the good vibes he wanted. He'd copy his teachers' voices and pull stunts to crack up his crew. That basic thrill, the pull to link up with funniness, was the first flicker that lit his whole comedy road. In his teen stretch, Jay hustled random gigs like pizza drops and wrench work. Those spots fed his huge love for cars and stocked him with gritty worker tales he spun into jokes later. While hitting communications and speech at Emerson College in Boston, Jay knew deep down he was comedy-bound. He kicked off stand-up at tiny local dives, mostly open mic nights. He crammed school with joke writing, whipping up quick bits to pay bills, sharpening his on-the-fly skills and crowd chats. Jay Leno's path got built real slow on little club floors and platforms, not fancy TV rooms. After rapping Emerson in 1973, Jay Leno headed to Los Angeles, where TV was exploding and spots for new talent were opening wide. In those rough start years in Cali, he crashed in his beat-up ride a lot, gigged anywhere going, and bunked on buddy sofas often. The first huge break hit in 1977, when Jay guest-spotted on the classic show The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson at the helm. Carson, the all-time champ of late-night TV, dug Jay's sharp, clean, everyday funny style. That short bit grabbed eyes from fans and bosses. After that, Jay turned regular on all sorts of fun shows, like Late Night with David Letterman. He stacked his name slow with smart, plain, friendly laughs. Fans dug Jay for being real. He was the type you'd grab coffee with, no sweat. By the late 80s, Jay got bumped to steady guest host, Esset on The Tonight Show. That gig didn't just bring spotlight and cash flow, but prepped him perfect for the big handoff. In the early 90s, as the legend Johnny Carson geared up to bow out, a wild behind-scenes scrap blew up at NBC over who next. The top two in the ring were Jay Leno and David Letterman, who ran the slot right after Carson. Letterman seemed the natural pick by habit, while Leno got eyed by Carson and the makers as the draw for way more watchers. After a bunch of test host runs and a call that split the team inside, NBC went with Jay Leno. On May 25, 1992, he grabbed the host spot on The Tonight Show, kicking off a fresh chapter in U.S. late-night TV. For over 20 years, skipping a short gap from 2009 to 2010, The Tonight Show with Jay Leno turned into an American staple, a must in pop life. Jay's run not only held strong, but locked in the top spot for late night. Nightly, about 5 million folks tuned in, pulling in billions in ad bucks for NBC. Jay's host mixed pro moves, nice manners, and laughs anyone could grab. Jay always started with easy jabs at news and celeb stuff. His take was chill, not mean or too pole, which let him keep the late-night beat steady, a guy all Americans, no matter the team, could watch cozy before lights out. He got big props for chatting up guests from top movie names to polls or hot-button folks with a happy, polite, no-clash vibe. He always put the spotlight on them, not climbing over, a mindset lots of young hosts grabbed later. Jay Leno shone not only on camera but with his almost vintage hustle. He was known for rolling in first to the studio, often by 9 a.m., even with taping late afternoon. He penned most of his own opener jokes and jumped deep into making the show. He was the type who showed on time, never bailed a taping, and always gave props to the team. Despite the killer grind of a 5-nights-a-week chat fee, Jay kept hitting stand-up at dive clubs on weekends. He said facing a live crowd kept him real and his bits fresh and close to home. That non-stop idea juice helped him skip the lazy trap of Tinseltown. Love for old rides. Right in this stretch, Jay started grabbing vintage cars, a kid crush fired up again by his wrench days. His Burbank garage turned bit by bit into his own secret showcase called Big Dog Garage, packed with hundreds of one-of-a-kind cars and bikes. From the 1907 white steam car to flashy new speed demons, Jay fixed and babied them himself. In the middle of his jammed days, Jay once quipped, "Fixing cars is the best vacation a person can have." That was his trick to stay grounded, on the go, and miles from Hollywood's wild bash scene. In 2004, NBC dropped a wild handoff plan. Jay Leno would step down in 2009 and pass the host seat to Conan O'Brien. That early call aimed to lock O'Brien from jumping to rivals. In 2009, Jay dipped out for a bit. To keep Jay in the fold, NBC handed him a fresh slot, The Jay Leno Show, at 10 p.m. But that one tanked hard on viewer counts and ticked off local stations. Just a year on, early 2010, NBC dropped a stunner. Axe, The Jay Leno Show, and bumped Conan O'Brien's Tonight Show to later. That time shift lit a nasty, out-loud war in late-night TV. In the end, Conan O'Brien bounced to TBS. Jay Leno hopped back to run The Tonight Show in March 2010. That pick stirred huge drama in entertainment. Jay got slammed as a backstabber out for himself who ditched a deal. But Jay zipped it through the hate, eyes on the job and the show. His take was basic. "I'm an employee. When the boss asks me to work, I will work." Even with the rough press, Jay held his viewer edge then, showing his pull on everyday crowds stuck around. In 2013, Jay Leno said he'd bow out of The Tonight Show for real in 2014, passing to Jimmy Fallon when the last Tonight Show with Jay Leno wrapped February 6, 2014. It hit emotional. The whole room went hush. Unlike the messy 2010 fight, this goodbye went smooth and heartfelt. Jay teared up, eyed the crowd, and said slow, "This has been the greatest 22 years of my life." Jay then echoed Johnny Carson's famous sign-off, the old boss he always looked up to. "I bid you all a heartfelt good night." That plain words hit as a send-off and nod, wrapping a golden time in U.S. late-night TV. News back then called it the kindest close in American TV books. Jay Leno kept late night a cozy, open spot for every U.S. family. Tons of pieces cheered Jay for raising the bar in talk shows, mixing fun, real talk, guest props, and killer hustle. Jay's show owned the ratings steady, seen as NBC's cash cow. When ditching The Tonight Show, Jay skipped retirement talk. He just said, "It's time for a new generation to take over." He stuck with stand-up, back to basics, road-tripping America, hitting small houses where the old laughs bounced like day one, gearing up for the wreck streak and home heartbreak ahead. When The Tonight Show lights clicked off for good in 2014, lots in showbiz figured Jay Leno would pull back, soak in his huge cash stack, and call it quits. But Jay, with his monster drive, picked another road, a softer spin but loaded with fire and twists. Instead of bright studio beams, he chased motor hums, grease whiffs, and the buzz of getting his hands dirty. This kicked off a fresh ride, a pivot past midnight. Jay flipped his side gig into a full-on job thing. In 2015, he rolled out Jay Leno's Garage on CNBC. The thing blew up quick as a fan fave, not just for gearheads, but regular watchers. Here, Jay ran point, spun yarns, and turned bolts. He pulled folks into old car worlds, digging the backstory, tech tricks, and what made each one special. Jay's Big Dog Garage felt like a giant hidden gallery, a den for his endless drive. With over 180 cars and about 160 motorcycles, the haul ran from history gold rarities like the jet-powered Chrysler turbine car to hot new beasts like the McLaren F1. Each ride was a tale kept pristine and fussed over by Jay in a 1,000-square-meter spot in Burbank. This switch wasn't hanging it up, but circling back to who he is. A joke-cracking gear guy set to roam small stages weekends, locking him as America's busiest stand-up act. Jay Leno showed Bounce Back isn't just shrugging off 3 nightmare crashes, but chasing what lights you and never hitting pause on the hustle. He is a comic, a tinkerer, and a rock for sticking to your own and your craft. Jay Leno's mark isn't only the late-night chuckles or the no-price-tag car haul, but a big yes to sticking it out. If you dig tales on the paths and grit of icons like Jay Leno, don't hold back. Back us up now. Smash like on this vid, sub to our channel, and flip on alerts so you catch the next uplifting bits. And last, drop a note down low and tell me what you figure is the top takeaway from Jay Leno's grind and heart in his days.